To another Bruce Starr show. Oh, you're going to be glad that you stopped by here today because I have one of the great living legends of the show business world, ventriloquism. It's so big now. You see it all over the shows. Some of the young little 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl, either she won the whole thing or she came in second just this past season in America's Got Talent. And I'm really thrilled to be able to have a living legend in that world, Willy Tyler. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine. But you were talking about ventriloquism being so big nowadays. It's because of the social networking, because when I was growing up, there's the social networking, and there were ventriloquists all over the place. But, the social network wasn't happening. So you wouldn't see these people. It's like they were living in little towns in North Carolina or something to that effect. But because of the TV shows, they brought it mainstream. That's why you're able to see more ventriloquists today than you would have seen in the past.
And they're so talented. And it's got to be, Willy, that they got their inspiration from you. Has to be.
Well, I get a lot of emails and texts from folks that have said that it had a lot to do with them becoming a ventriloquist.
Yeah, it's really some. So, Willy, tell me about your life. I mean, how does a guy from Detroit make it so big in all the businesses, be on TV on all the big shows? How does that happen to somebody from Detroit, man?
Well, it's as they say in the business, it has a lot to do with luck. Sometimes things just fall. Like some songwriters, they write a big hit or something like that. They said they wrote it in 15 minutes. It's just they sat down and they wrote it, and it just happened. And it was the same kind of situation. I'd gone into the service, the Air Force. I went in the Air Force when I was 18 years old. And when I went in, and I got out, and I was a ventriloquist when I was 10. I started when I was 10 years old. But when I got out of the service, when I was about 21, 22, I went back to Detroit. And at a particular time, talking about timing, Motown was beginning, and they were looking for a novelty act to travel on the road with the Motown Review. And so I was able to get signed up with them. I was with them 8 years. We traveled on the road with the Motown Review, and we would MC the shows, introducing the Supremes, the Temptations, and back in those days, little Stevie Wonder, and it was like a lot of fun. And by doing that, we were able to get out of Detroit and go to other states, and finally get to New York and do the Apollo Theater with the Motown Review. And from that's how we were able to get the TV shows like the Merv Griffin shows and the Mike Douglas shows and the Flip Wilson shows and things like that.
So it really was a situation of being at the right place at the right time, coming from Detroit, having an accomplished career by the time you were 18 or 19. When did you start playing with Motown?
Well, it was like I was about 22, 23 when I got with Motown. But I was a ventriloquist when I was 10. I seen a guy by the name of Paul Winchell on TV. But what happened professionally, when I got into the business professionally, was after I'd gotten out of the service. And that was like when I was about 22 or 23, when I'd gotten with Motown. And when I got with Motown, that's when basically we were pretty much professional then. So it was like the professional thing came along when I was about 22, 23.
So tell me what it must have been like for a guy from Detroit, running in the Air Force, to all of a sudden be performing with really, now I'm sure they weren't the biggest stars in the whole world then, but they were sure soon to be some of the biggest stars in the world.
Right. History was being made, but we were so busy being in the making of history that it didn't really, it was like small potatoes to us back then. But then as you look back on it, it was really happening because the Supremes, it was back then, it was the Supremes, not Diana Ross and Supremes, even though she was in the group. But they started making hit records from Holland Dozier and Holland. They wrote the songs for them and all that. And and then later on the Temptations, and and then of course Stevie Wonder. It was like amazing. It was like a situation we would travel on the road, and we were just doing one-nighters and things like that. And then we would go to New York City. And when we went to New York City, we would work the the
Upper
Apollo
East
Theater.
Side, Upper West Side.
Yeah, the Apollo Theater. I was thinking the Uptown Theater. That's in Philadelphia, though. But we worked the Apollo Theater, but we would stay at the Apollo Theater a whole week. So it's the idea when we got there, we would work the Apollo for a week, and that was a lot of fun. And the Apollo Theater was really something. That's like baptism by fire. Acts when they go to the Apollo, you got to be saying something for the audience to accept you. Even singers would be nervous before they went on stage because they wondered if the audience would accept them. So you can imagine what a person going on stage telling jokes would be, what kind of situation he'd be in.
So tell me about those first couple of nights when you were at the Apollo. I mean, that's history we're talking about. And what was that like for you?
Well, no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was great because they had of course, the Apollo had a band, big orchestra. Well, it's a band, orchestras with strings, but it was a band, and there was like I guess about 12-piece band, and there was a house band. And they really could play the music, and the sounds came out, and that's great. But it's the idea of going on stage, and we would go on. Lester and I would go on stage. We'd do the show. We'd go on stage, do the show, then we'd introduce the acts, like the Contours, the Marvelettes, and folks like that, and then of course the other folks that we had mentioned, and usually the close of the ones that would close the show would be Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, or Marvin Gaye, or the Temptations, depending on what kind of record they had out, and if it was doing good.
Wow. So people want to know about your interactions with those guys. What when you were off stage, what was it? Did you hang with them? Did you spend time together?
Well, it's the idea when we're traveling on a bus. It's pretty much family, a family kind of situation. Being on a bus, and we would stop at truck stops and late at night to get food, and stuff like that. It was a fun. You got to know particular folks and their personalities by being because you're traveling, you're pretty much living together for like about a month at a time, traveling and doing one-nighters and stuff like that. It was a great phenomenal situation. Like a singer by the name of Kim Weston, she did a duet with Marvin Gaye. It takes two. It takes two, baby. It takes two, baby. She was great. Tammy Terrell, she did a duet with Marvin Gaye, several duets with Marvin Gaye, and Ain't No Mountain High Enough and all that stuff. And it was just a lot of fun. As I said before, history was being made, but we didn't know it until later on.
Was there anyone that you really kind of connected with that you stayed friends with for years even after the bus rides were over?
Well, it's when we finished doing the Motortown reviews, excuse me, we would travel on because by this time the acts like the Supremes, the Temptations, they were pretty much stars in their own, so they could go out. They didn't have to be with the review. They can go out and do we did the Copacabana in New York with the Four Tops. We did the Copacabana in New York with the Temptations. And it was like a situation. So we would travel on the road as opening acts for the now headliners, the Temptations or the Supremes. And it was like a situation was great. And I loved working the Copacabana in New York. That was really fun to be able to, because Copacabana in New York back in those days was really the place to be.
And the place where all the stars went to see the up and coming stars.
That's right. A lot of celebrities would be in the audience, and the Copacabana was like when you say Copacabana, it's almost like you think of a gigantic place, but it was like a little small club. It was really small. It was down in the bay. You had to go downstairs to get to the club, and wow. I think it held about probably about 300 people. Didn't hold a lot of people, but it was a classy place.
Wow. And so, what was it like when you were off stage? Let's try to reach the people where they're at listening to this. What was it like off stage a minute before the first time you're going on stage at the Copacabana, you're opening for the Temptations? What was going through your mind? What was happening at that moment, 1 minute before you stepped on stage?
Well, you know, it's like the idea of before you go on stage, it's like it's really something, because it's a situation where you're set, the lights go down, the overture starts, and the place is packed, and it's the idea of like but being in show business, a performer being in show business, you know, that you live for that, you live for that adrenaline, that rush before you go on stage, and once you get out there and you perform. There's a little nervousness going on before you go on stage, but once the light spotlight hits you and you go out there, when the music starts, then you're at home. And it's the idea when you come off, it takes a little while to come down from that. And when you come down from that, it's like you feel good. It's a good feeling. That's why a lot of people who are in show business and they do live performances, they never retire. The reason why they never retire is because there's something about going on stage. It's like a high. You go on stage and you feel good. But if you retire from that, you're lost. There's nothing there. It keeps you young, that kind of situation.
Are you married?
No, used to be, but not, no.
Okay. So, but you do travel with another, does Lester know that we're going to be doing a TV show here today?
Yeah. He's supposed to be. I got to open the door. He's there, but he doesn't have his key.
Oh, I'll wait. No problem. Okay. Look at those beautiful pictures telling the story of Willy Tyler, his show business career. Boy.
Hey.
There he is. Hey, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, he has my key.
You know, Willy, I thank you for being with me on the first half of the show, but I think Lester here is the guy that will share more of the kind of the inner show business stories more than Willy did. You really saw it all, didn't you?
Yeah, I know everything.
So tell me, you know, maybe you heard a little bit of the interview that we did with Willy. Tell me what it was like for you when you went up to the Apollo Theater for the first time and you knew that you were going to be in front of a tough audience and that was going to be, you know, give you a tough time. What was that like for you? Were you worried about being accepted?
No, it's cool with me, you know, because show business is always been in our sawdust. Another challenge. A challenge? Another challenge. Truth. Yeah. It's hard to say your name. You know that, don't you? VR. Yeah.
So what was it like for you to be on the road? Because it's, you know, not easy for everybody to be on the road. What was it like for you, especially having to hang around with Willy all the time?
No, we were buddies. You know, we hung out with all the other entertainers and stuff like that. You know, I love to hang around with Diana Ross. But it's the idea, you know, because we were so close, you know, on the bus and stuff like that. So it worked out nicely. But there's a story one time we were doing a one-nighter in Chicago at Drury Lane. No, Drury Lane? No, I can't remember the name of the venue, but it was in Chicago, but it was with the Supremes. So what happened was like, I think it was the Contours or the Spinners. We all left Detroit in the winter, midwinter, right? Yeah, midwinter. And we were on a bus, chartered bus. We drove down to Chicago and we did this one-nighter with Supremes. You know, Supremes, they were big back in those days. Come see about me. Yeah, they did all those kind of songs, you know what I mean? And what happened was like we did the show and we got back on the bus because it was one-nighter. Motown wanted to get us back to Detroit. And the Supremes stayed over because they're the stars. They stayed over. Yeah, they had a hotel room. We were in the bus. We were on the bus. Anyway, we headed back to Detroit. And what happened was like as we were driving, the bus driver, I would notice that the bus driver was he was kind of he looked sleepy. He looked sleepy. So I went up and I started talking to the bus driver. Everybody else on the bus, you know, the contours or the spinners and the band, everybody was sleeping. But I went up and talked to the guy. Anyway, by the time we got back to Detroit, he said to me, "Thank you for talking to me," because he says I was falling asleep. You know, hey, you didn't tell me that story. Yeah. At the bottom of the dust, man. Other than a thirst to go. That's okay. See, you learned something there today, huh? I didn't know that story. That's scary. We're here, right? Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
So it's amazing to hear you talk about the Spinners. I mean, sharing the bus with the Spinners. Oh my goodness, what were those guys like?
Well, the funny guy. Each one had a different personality and everything. Rather than that. That's one of their hits. Rather than that. Rubber band. Yeah, good. So no, it was like what happened was like the Spinners were in Motown for a long time, and they were always trying to get a hit. They could never get a hit. They were always trying to write. People were trying to write hits for them, and then finally, you know, it came around to where they got a hit. They started getting hits, and that's what happened. Again, that's luck. I mean, it has a lot to do with, you know, I don't know. It's just it's a weird kind of situation in show business and in life in general. You know, what things just happen and they happen. You got to be in the right area, and everything falls into place. Right? That's right. I could have done the show business. I could have done the tree in the forest.
You know what? That's very true.
Thank you.
And we have to thank Mr. Willy for taking you out of the trees, taking you out of the forest.
Yeah. You know, I'm made of wood, right?
What?
I'm made of wood, right? I'm made of wood, right? He says he's made of wood, right? Here's a question.
I didn't know that he was made of wood.
No, I'm made of wood. Because I got a punchline.
Oh, you're made of wood?
Yeah. I was walking through the forest the other day. I fell down. Nobody heard me. I'm made of wood, right?
You know, I didn't know that you weren't real. I'm sorry. I just thought that you were. I didn't know you were made of wood. I apologize.
No, look at Pinocchio. Pinocchio, yeah, it's made of wood. Yeah. Howdy doody.
I knew he was made of wood.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody. I knew was made of wood, but I didn't know you were.
Yeah, I used to go with Howdy Doody's sister.
How did that work out?
I got termite.
Well, I grew up with, you know, watching Howdy Doody, and
no
you were
strings.
right there at that. You were right there at that time with, you know, you Howdy Doody, Winchell. You know, all those people were.
Yeah, actually, Paul Winchell was my mentor. He's the one I'd seen on television when I was first started. He's the one that made me become interested in ventriloquism. I seen him on TV, and it really fascinated me how he made his little character, Jerry Mahoney or Knucklehead Smith, come to life. Very next day, I took my sister's discarded doll, and I used that as a ventriloquist figure until the Lesters came along.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Did you actually work with him at all? Did he help you, or just from a distance he was your mentor?
No, well, what happened was like it started out when I was a kid. He was on TV. He had a weekly show at that time called Winchell Mahoney Time or something to that effect. It was sponsored by a watch band company called Spydell. And later on, when I moved to LA, and we were doing TV's bloopers and blunders, we were doing a thing on TV's bloopers and blunders. That was Dick Clark and Ed McMahon. They hosted that show, and they put a thing together with Sherry Lewis, Paul Winchell, and another ventriloquist. He escapes me his name right now, but we all went to a particular restaurant on Sunset Boulevard, and we all had dinner there. We sat there with our figures at the table, the table,
Wow.
and we would talk back and forth. And this was a class A, a restaurant, and the ladies would come over and serve the food, but they had cameras and stuff like that. They were taping us doing the interaction and stuff like that. But what happened was, like, we were never able to eat the food because we were so busy talking back and forth and throwing one-liners at each other. It was fun. It was fun. See that? Wow. I remember that. You remember that? I do. Good.
And Lester, what about? I mean, it's one thing to work town to town, city to city, and you get to be, major league when you go into New York and you play the big houses in New York. But then it's a whole different ballgame when you go to places like Atlantic City and Las Vegas. Did you ever perform there?
Oh, yeah, Las Vegas. First time we worked in Las Vegas was with Anne Margaret. Do you remember?
Oh.
You know her? Yeah, Anne
Margaret. Oh, yeah.
We were with Anne Margaret at the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas. And that was the first time we'd worked there. And then after that, we went back to Vegas. We would go back to Vegas periodically, and we would work with acts such as Lou Rawls. And, of course, with the Temptations, Sammy Davis Jr., we worked with him. Sammy Davis Jr., he gave me his...
Like?
Huh?
Oh, say that again. I stepped over you. Say that again, Lester.
Sammy Davis Jr. gave me his old clothes.
Ah.
We were the same size. Take your time, Bruce.
So what was it like working with Sammy? He was known as like the king of entertainment.
He's a very talented man, He's very nice to us. It was like we were working in Lake Tahoe. We were up there, and he came to the dressing room one night and he said, I'm doing the Tonight Show. He said, I'm hosting the Tonight Show. This is when the Tonight Show moved to L.A. He said, I'm doing the Tonight Show next week. He says, you want to do it? And of course, I was like, what are you going to say? You're like, oh, of course, And it worked out nicely. It was a good spot. The show worked out nicely. And again, it was a fun night because luck was on our side. Everything worked out nicely. And the audience was great. The song that we sang was great. It was like, and the interview with Sammy Davis Jr. was great. Everything went number one that night. Wow. I remember that well.
That's magic, man. That's just, it's one thing to be a comedian or an actor and work an occasional TV show or work an occasional, in a movie, but you performed and worked with the ever. That's unbelievable.
No, it was a lot of fun. We worked actually with Frank Sinatra too. We worked with Frank Sinatra, and it's just a lot of acts that we pretty much rubbed shoulders with, and it was like a fun ride. Lester,
how did Frank Sinatra treat you?
He was cool. Frank Sinatra's all right with me. So what happens, like with Frank Sinatra down through his year, he had his ups and downs and stuff like that. People were saying he should retire and stuff like that. Then he'd come back and he would be bigger than ever and stuff like that. Even on New Year's Eves, in New York, they play that song. Is it New York, New York?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's a classic. I mean, the man lives on. He's a legend.
I'm proud to say that I went to one Super Bowl in my life, and it was in Phoenix, Arizona in 2008, and the Giants pulled off that miracle win over the New England Patriots. Uh-huh. And seconds after the game, all the confetti came down, and they blasted New York, New York over those loudspeakers. And boy, I tell you, there was a lot more than goosebumps going on.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. Show business is my life. Show business is my life too. I could have been a lawn jockey. Is that okay to say? That is fine.
So Lester, is there anything else that you would like to share, before we go? Because I know, you probably need your nap time, and I don't want to keep you, too long. Is there anything else, Lester, that you'd like to share? Let people know about your life. Let people know about your career.
I need a nap time because I'm still growing. Actually, this particular Lester, he came in 3 sizes. Cause right, yeah. When I was small, he was a medium guy. I mean, he's a small Lester. Then when I was about 16, the medium Lester came along because I'd grown, right? He grew a little bit. I grew a little bit. Then I went into service with the medium Lester because I was able to get special services. When I went in the Air Force, I was able to get special services, so we performed. That's what we did in the service. We performed. And so when I got out of the service and went back to Detroit, when I got with Motown, we started working those larger venues like Apollo and Uptown Theater and stuff like that, Howard Theater in Washington, D.C. I needed a larger Lester because these venues were big. They had balconies and stuff like that, and people were far away, so they couldn't see Lester, the medium Lester, far away. So this particular Lester came along. So he's the grown-up Lester. He's been around for like a whole bunch of years. And I'm bigger than ever now. Yo, this is my life.
I have one of the people watching right now saying, "Hey, they were on the Jeffersons."
But yeah, that's one of the highlights too, because we had done the Jeffersons, that sitcom, and it was a lot of fun to be able to do that particular thing. And what happens is, like, I can turn the TV on. And sometimes, even today, we'll see the rerun of that, and it's like I'm captivated. I'm looking at it. I'm watching it. Even I know how the show ran and what went on there, but it's just fascinating on watching that and watching Lester. I usually watch Lester as opposed to me, because there's something about this guy that's what irresistible. No, not irresistible, but interesting. Thank you.
And David is asking, how'd you enjoy working with the Jefferson crew? I don't know, exactly if you have memories of what it was like to work on that show with the crew.
Well, Sherman Hemsley. Yeah, it was like he's a nice man. The character he played on the show was like a rambunctious guy, right? Right. And he was always mad about something or just talking about particular things. And then when we were doing rehearsals and things like that, when we would take a break from the rehearsing, he'd go over in the corner, he'd sit down, he would be really quiet. He'd be a really quiet guy away from the set. But then when we got back into rehearsal again, he'd be that George Jefferson character again. And that was interesting to see how a lot of people are that way. Guys on screen, they can be like energetic and stuff like that, but when they're off screen, it's low key. Tell me
about Tyler off screen, Lester. Tell me what Mr. Tyler is like. Willy Tyler, your dad here.
This guy, who? Dad?
Well, your brother, your dad, your cousin. I'm not sure. What is the relationship?
He's my friend.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
He wouldn't have a wooden kid. Unless something was going on. It's a miracle. A wooden kid. Okay. No,
that is kind of a miraculous thing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. But no, he's cool. He's all right with me. He's my mentor. Paul Winchell. Paul Winchell was his mentor. He's my mentor.
Okay.
Well, what would I do without him? You know what I mean?
Back in the woods.
There you go. I used to I fell in love with a totem pole up in Alaska.
Tell me about her.
Yeah, we had to break the relationship off. Why did you break the relationship off? I found out she was two-faced. Two-faced. I got it. Totem pole. I got it. You got it. Take your time, Doris.
So, all right, maybe I can ask Willy this question because I can't seem to get a straight answer out of you, Lester. Do you have any projects coming up that you would like people to know about?
Oh, by the way, we're doing a documentary. The documentary is going on, and we've been working on it now for about a year, and we've got a little ways to go on this documentary kind of situation. And of course, what we do when we perform around the country, we work a lot of places like the casinos. A lot of casinos are all over the place now, as opposed to like once upon a time it was only in Vegas, but they've got them pretty much everywhere. And we're doing some of those particular things, and some of the comedy clubs are still around too that we're still doing.
Can you let people know about right now it's New Year's Day, so Happy New Year.
Thank you,
Lester. Willy, thank you for being on the show on New Year's Day. I mean, I think that's great. What a great way to start the new year. Are there places that you can tell us where you're going to be performing? Any dates that you have set?
One place we can mention right now is like a place called Hey Guys, and that's outside of St. Louis. Outside of St. Louis, I think it's 19th and 20th of this month. It's pretty soon. It's called Hey Guys Comedy Club. We're going to be there for that particular one, and the other ones we're setting up our itinerary for the year, and we're working on that now.
I'm so glad.
You can always go to our website. Sometimes we'll put the schedules on our website, willyandlester.com.
Okay.
It's WILLIEANDLESTER.com.
Okay, I've got that. Hold on one second. I'm going to put that up for you just so that people can see it. And is that right, Willy and Lester?
Right, WILLIE.
Got that. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And, I think it's great that you're still performing. Once you have it, you have it. And I'm glad that you guys are still getting around. Certainly, if you ever find yourself in South Florida, you have to let me know. And, I'm talking to different people about setting up some things down here. Who knows? Maybe we'll get you to come down here and be and work with some of the other acts that we're going to put together.
Yeah, I worked a lot in Florida. I like Florida, but I can't stand that humidity.
Well,
it makes my wood expand.
What about your hair? I mean, it must do terrible things to your hair.
No problem. I got the hat on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Willy, parting words. I'd love to hear you just share something from your heart to the people. You've been in this business probably 6 decades now, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been a long time, and we were kind of thinking about this particular thing last night, New Year's Eve and stuff, because we've gone through a whole bunch of New Year's Eves and things like that. And it was like, it's just you consider yourself pretty much fortunate to be able to be around and still do what you enjoy doing, performing. And that's basically our Billy.
Absolutely. And when I look behind you, I see all the pictures that you have. No doubt oh my God. Oh.
By the way, you know what? A lot of people ask me, they say, I'm supposed to be hip, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but see, they say, why don't you wear your cap backwards? I say, I don't have to wear my cap backwards because I can do this.
Well,
so I put that in.
If you look behind you, there's pictures there of probably 101.
We got a picture in here of Sammy Davis Jr. when we did a show called Laugh-In, and Sammy Davis was a guest on there. And we did a bit with Sammy Davis Jr. and we got a picture of him up there on the wall. A guy by the name of Flip Wilson, Dolly Parton. We're Dolly Parton in Atlantic City. Dolly Parton, she's nice. There's another.
How nice is she?
Oh, no, she's real nice. She's real nice. She's a good singer, good looker. Speaking of luck, it's like Dolly, and she even says this. Dolly Parton says this. It says she wrote a song one time, and it took about 15 minutes to write this particular song. It just happened. It just happened. It's just something about fate or something to that effect that you get into a particular avenue and things work. And then sometimes you get into a particular avenue and things don't work. But sometimes for the successful folks, you get into that particular, and it just happens. You can't explain it. You cannot explain it. It's just there. It's just, there it is. As they say, oops, there it is.
That sounds like a song I've heard.
Is it a song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, rap. Is rap a song? Rap. Well, yeah, music is rhythm. Okay. Oop, there it is. Oop, there it is. Oop, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Hey, Willy, I mean, you got your mouth closed, man. I mean, that's closed. I don't know how anything's getting out of there.
Well, he got lockjaw. I'm just saying.
So, Lester, it has been an honor to be in your presence. You've been an inspiration to so many out there. You probably don't have any idea.
It's fun, right? No, he's talking to me, man. He's trying to steal my thunder. That's what he's trying to do. Steal my thunder. Come on, man. No, I love the fans. I love. They got Facebook. A lot of folks are friending us on Facebook. That's fine. I love that kind of stuff. Makes me feel real.
So they can friend you if they want. Is that possible that people can friend you on Facebook?
They can, yeah, because it's interesting because we got a whole bunch of friends on there, and so what happens is it gets to a point where it says you can't add any more people on there. Then over a period of time, some room comes up, and then people can be added on there, so they can be friends. You can get on the list there, and we can punch you in when there's room.
Well, I so enjoyed my time with you guys here today. This has been wonderful. Wish you.
Yeah, New Year's Day. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
How lucky was I to get you guys on New Year's Day to be able to do this show and give you all a chance to wish a happy New Year to everyone around the country, everyone on Facebook. This has been really great. I want to thank you both for being on the show, and just God bless. And it's nice to see someone who you've watched on TV and were so impressed with for so long to have you on the show. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And happy 2018 to you. And I'd like real quick, Joey Kamen, my buddy Joey Kamen. I think Joey Kamen, a special thanks to Joey Kamen, because he's a little guy from Detroit too.
Well, we had a great show with him last week, and I said, do you know any other great people that you think would do the show? And when he mentioned you, I said, please go out and get Willy Tyler and Lester for me. And here you are. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And thank you so much for being on the Bruce Starr Show. And hopefully we'll catch you again sometime.
Very true. Very good. Take care. Take care.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for watching the Bruce Starr Show. And we'll catch you again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.